разговор ни к чему не приведет.
Вы оккупанты, вы фашисты, вы пришли на нашу землю.
Хорошо.
Какого хера вы пришли с оружием к нам?
Кто сказал?
Возьмите семечки, положите сырые,
Хорошо.
чтобы хоть подсолнухи росли, когда вы здесь ляжете.
Сейчас наш разговор ни к чему.
A country of 40 million people under siege as the largest European invasion since World War II plays
I
out.
can't believe that
The sanctions.
Russia has declared war on Ukraine. That as soon as the declaration... Oh! That's a missile! That's a missile!
Life has changed irreversibly, and it will never be the same again.
On February the 24th, 2022, the world watched in horror as Russia launched a full-scale invasion on Ukrainian soil. As the events in Ukraine started to unfold, the team at Cisco Talos Intelligence undertook a task unlike anything they've ever done before and focused their efforts on the people and critical infrastructure in a nation struck by war. Fred Rogers, the famous American television personality, once quoted his mother in an iconic interview discussing catastrophes and tragic events, where she told him to always look for the helpers. So today, we're going to focus on the helpers and look to the people of Cisco Talos who have collectively volunteered their time and expertise to help people and businesses who are facing a reality unlike anything you'll ever find in any technical training manual or SLA.
So initially, there was definitely a lot of fear, like what's going to happen now? And we had known for some time that this is not going to be a traditional kinetic-only kind of affair. Like we've seen the cyber back and forth.
It's a rather long relationship, right? There was this black energy event that happened in Ukraine where the Russians attacked power infrastructure inside of Ukraine. And we wanted to know how could we help defend that country against our adversaries. And we were able to build a number of relationships over the course of the next several months and then over many, many years. Eventually, we found a threat called VPN filter. And VPN filter had a number of command and control centers that were inside of Ukraine at the time and inside of Russia. Like it's attributed to Russia, it's a bad thing in Russia, you know, the Russians were running it. And so it was a great way to work with the Ukrainians to try to figure out what was going on, and they could help us and we could help them. And so while it wasn't an attack against their specific infrastructure, it was an attack against the world because they were going after home routers and things. And so that allowed us to kind of start to build the relationship.
From early November, we had reached out to actually try to come up with what the evacuation plans would be for our folks there, because we felt they were especially at risk because of all the work they had done countering Russian activities in Ukraine. And then at that point, it was all about fully supporting whatever came out needs-wise from Ukraine.
Cisco Talos is one of the largest commercial threat intelligence teams in the world. They help keep Cisco customers safe against known and emerging threats. They also discover new vulnerabilities and interdict threats in the wild before they can do harm to the internet at large.
It was just immediately this feeling of going into overdrive, figuring out what they needed, how can we send it, who do we need to talk to?
On the 3rd of March 2022, just over a week after the invasion began, Cisco published a blog post entitled "Cisco Stands on Guard with Our Customers in Ukraine." Matt only talked in detail about how Cisco and Talos were going to help defend Ukraine from cyber attacks.
What we did in the wake of the Russian invasion of Ukraine was to extend an offer that we would supply our software and services free of charge, but in addition, we would also have the team that normally does the threat intelligence work in Talos actually act as administrators and defenders for these organizations and sort of virtually sit side by side with those defenders. We just were all talking through how can we help, what are the best things that we can do, and the notion came up of, well, let's form we call it a task unit of people that are able to directly help in a kind of a different geopolitical way.
What we're looking for in threat hunting is evidence of a very targeted attack against Ukraine. I believe right now we are at about 30,000 endpoint deployments, which is representative of 30,000 things that we're protecting. Because there is so much of the hunter's time that's spent on that technical research, we're able to utilize anyone else within Cisco who wants to help to sort of monitor the situation as it unfolds.
In mid-January 2022, over a month before the invasion, Ukrainian organisations were targeted with website defacements and the first deployment of Whispergate malware. DDoS attacks and widespread disinformation campaigns soon followed.
There's a difference between what Cisco Talos does on a day-to-day basis, which is we create protections that protect all of our customers across the globe. We don't want to turn something off for somebody. We don't want to have a bunch of false positives, right? We have to be very, very clear, very, very conservative maybe in some of our judgments. In Ukraine, the difference is you want everything.
We got essentially kind of the nod from the Ukraine authorities to be much more aggressive in terms of our blocking. So we would also evaluate where it was sitting. And if it was, an obscure small Russian hosting provider, we would just block the whole provider.
Since that time, my primary role has just been to look through our back-end telemetry, the kind of information that we get through tools like Cisco Secure Endpoint, Umbrella, and try to identify anything that looks suspicious or anomalous, anything that could be concerning to our Ukrainian partners.
We may see a request come in from a directly monitored entity that we're engaged directly with. They may reach out to us and say, hey, we saw this weird thing, this computer was acting funny, this computer shut down at the wrong time, network traffic stopped flowing to this segment. We can't explain it, can you help us? Once we start to piece all of this information together, we conduct an intelligence analysis based on how this thing got there, what it did while it was there, what its other capabilities were, and we try to work up a profile and understand, what the adversary was potentially trying to do.
Being entrenched with our Ukrainian partners, being kind of closer to the front lines than we might otherwise be, gives us the advanced awareness that we need to create the protections, create the signatures, and push those out before anything could come to impact them at that point.
Recently, one of the big things that we've done is kind of created this notion of early warning indicator notification. And so we've created a bot specifically monitors these organizations and looks for those things that we know are going to be very damning things.